Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Soul Podcasting Podcast. I'm your girl, Demetria, and let me just say thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome to the show. I'm your friendly podcasting coach, your content strategist, and your go-to girl for turning your voice into a platform that truly connects. For all my day one listeners, you already know how we do it. It's straight talk, no fluff. I'm doubling down on this year's growth. So if you haven't already, be sure to check me out on YouTube at youtube.com/@DemetriaZinga for even more behind the scenes content on my solopreneur lifestyle channel. And don't forget to show love to my other podcast, which is Her Business Elevated, where I'm helping women entrepreneurs turn their profitable passion into a plan of action. Okay, so now let's get into today's topic. And we're talking about the art of storytelling and how to use it to keep your audience hooked. Whether you're a newbie podcaster or a seasoned creator, storytelling is a skill that will elevate your show to the next level. Let's get into it. Why does storytelling matter in podcasting? I mean, we're all here to share our expertise, right? And that's true, but here's the thing. Content without a story is just information. Storytelling, on the other hand, is what connects you to your audience on a deep emotional level. It's what gets them to lean in, press play every single week, and hit subscribe. Think about the last time you heard a story that truly stuck with you. Was it a movie or maybe a podcast episode that you were really into or a YouTube video? Lately, I've been watching a lot of YouTubers sharing their lives. One in particular is a lady named Cecilia Blomald, I believe. I might not be pronouncing her name correctly, but she has an awesome channel about her life in the northernmost town of the world, closest to the North Pole. And I just love watching her story unfold on YouTube. It is incredibly amazing to watch. I could never live there. The majority of this world has no clue what life is like there. And so for her to open up her life to show people her part of the world has been an amazing experience for me. And I just feel like I'm on the journey with her. And so without even having to be there, I'm there. And that's the power of storytelling. So what made the story stick with you? Whatever it is that's causing you to want to go back to that YouTube channel and watch that favorite vlogger of yours or listen to your favorite podcaster, chances are it's the way the story made you feel, whether it's excited, inspired, emotional, or even empowered. And Cecilia inspires and motivates me. She's so full of gratitude and joy in the midst of the apparent hardship of living in sub-degree weather. Her experience just inspires me to have gratitude every day of my life and be very grateful for what I have. And so I would say that she is inspiring for me. You have to think about what makes you want to come back to listen to the stories and to share the experiences that you're having with other people who are also watching and listening to your favorite vloggers and YouTubers, or maybe it's your favorite show on Netflix. But think about what keeps you coming back. And that is part of what that storytelling is doing for you. So let's break down what makes a story work. And here are 3 key elements that you need to master when you're creating your story. And the first is a very clear structure. So every great story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's something that most of us have learned in elementary or grade school, that when we're writing a story, it needs that same structure of beginning, middle, and end. So you don't just start talking and then hope for the best when you're on a podcast. You want to pull your listeners in with an engaging introduction and then take them through a compelling journey and then wrap it up with a satisfying conclusion. So something that makes them feel like they've actually had an experience. And when you think of it like this, the beginning of your podcast should spark some curiosity. The middle should build some tension or some excitement as you take your listener through the journey, and the end should offer a resolution or a takeaway that leaves them thinking. The second element of storytelling is relatable characters or real life experiences. And that's where your audience wants to connect with you, which is why you'll see that I share a lot of my own personal experiences on my shows. And it's something that I love when I'm listening to others' podcasts as well. I like to hear those personal experiences. So your listener wants to hear about your struggles, your triumphs, any lessons you've learned. They want to hear your growth and how you've changed over the years. So don't be afraid to share your real life stories, even the messy ones, especially the messy ones. Your authenticity is your superpower. So when you bring personal stories into your podcast, you humanize your message. It's one thing to tell someone how to do something, but it's another thing to show them how you did it. And that's what creates relatability and trust. And thirdly, this is exactly why when I am sharing my stories that I try to be relatable as much as possible from my experience. And this is completely why I decided to change my slant, like how I present. Because in previous years, I was trying to present to a specific type of crowd that was not my niche market. So when I figured out who I'm talking to, which currently has been solopreneurs, I realized, hey, I need to share my life as a solopreneur, right? I need to show my ups and downs in this journey of creating and crafting a business, starting up something, and then going with the flow and the fear and the scariness of it, the exhilaration of it, and then the excitement of finally seeing the business come together. So this is what I've been doing here and also at Her Business Elevated podcast. When you bring your personal stories into your podcast, once again, you humanize that message. And it's one thing to tell someone how to do something, but it's another thing to show them how you did it. And that's what creates relatability and trust. And thirdly, you want to think about emotionally engaging moments. Humans are emotional creatures. So we connect through shared emotions. And that's where storytelling becomes super powerful. If you can evoke those emotions, whether it's through your laughter and your joy, your excitement, or even your vulnerability, you'll keep your listeners hooked. That's why when I've been listening to Amy Porterfield's podcast, which used to be called Online Marketing Made Easy, but is now called The Amy Porterfield Show, over the years, I've followed her because she evokes so much emotion in her shows, especially those heart-to-heart, one-on-one chats when she's not interviewing anyone, but just sharing with her audience her vulnerabilities of her weight loss journey and just sharing like really personal things that she doesn't have to share on a marketing podcast, but chooses to. It really helped me to connect with her as a public figure, but on an emotional level, so that I felt that I could relate to her struggles as a woman, as a business person, an entrepreneur. And maybe not on every level can I connect with Amy, but there are a few things I can. And her willingness to be relatable and vulnerable is what allowed me to make that personal connection with her on her show. And in turn, I developed a level of trust with her and her business and how she does things. Therefore, I have been her client. I have been her customer and have been willing to invest in my own business and my own skill sets by listening to her, watching her, and taking her courses. A story that tugs at the heartstrings or makes someone laugh out loud is the kind of content that gets shared. So don't hold back. Let your audience feel something with you. All right, my friend, let's do a quick recap of today's gems. So we talked about why storytelling is an absolute game changer for your podcast. And it's not just about sharing information, but it's about creating an experience that pulls your audience in and keeps them coming back. And we broke down the 3 key elements of storytelling into your clear structure, relatable characters and real life experiences, and emotionally engaging moments. Because stories that make people feel are the ones that get remembered and shared. And guess what? We're just getting started. This was only part 1. And in the next episode, we'll dive into how to apply these storytelling techniques specifically to your podcast format. Whether you're doing solo episodes, interviews, or narrative style storytelling, you don't want to miss it. So before we wrap up, if today's episode resonated with you, do me a favor, share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss part 2. Also, let's keep this conversation going. Come hang out with me on Instagram at Demetria Zinga, and don't forget to check out my YouTube channel for even more podcasting and solopreneur tips. I'm leaving links, of course, in the show notes for all of these ways you can reach me. And that's it for now. It's a wrap for today. Keep showing up, keep telling your story, and keep making an impact with your voice. And I'll catch you next time for part 2. And until then, stay inspired and keep podcasting with soul.